Hello, this week we look at number 3 in our series on the Psalms, the book of Psalms. This one's entitled The Lord Reigns. And really, that's it. That's what needs to be said, especially in our modern world. Many people don't even recognize the reign of God or even recognize God himself at all. So to say the Lord reigns is a very clear description of our relationship with God. God is there. He is in charge. He is in control. And the Psalms help us with that. The Lord reigns. But let us ask ourselves, what does that really mean to say that the Lord reigns? Yes, it means that he has the power. Yes, it means that he is the king. But what does it mean for me personally? It talks about the fact that God is involved in this world and specifically with me, that I don't have to worry. Eventually, it will all be worked out. I mentioned in the notes the book of Job and his experience. He didn't really understand what was happening to him and why. Of course, we know there's this debate between God and Satan. Job is in the middle of all that, but as far as we are told, Job never ever is informed about that, because that would have kind of distorted this, I call it an experiment, but this experience at least. So we also are, as we're told by Paul, a spectacle to the universe, to angels, to men, to everybody. We are representing God. And when we say the Lord reigns, we're talking about that vertical connection. In fact, John Newton even calls that a political maxim, which is an interesting way of describing the fact that the Lord reigns. It reminds us that in all our thoughts that God is there, and by political he means in terms of government. God's government is over all. So let's look through some of these Psalms very quickly. Psalm 8 talks about looking up to the heavens and wondering why God himself should worry about people like us, human beings. Psalm 100 says that the Lord is God, as if that needed to be said. But in today's world, yes, it does. The Lord is God. And let us talk about him. Not just about his omnipotence and his omniscience and his omnipresence and all the other omnis. We need to talk about God in our daily lives and what he means to us. Psalm 97 says that the Lord reigns, and so we should be glad, we should be happy. Even though we may be expressing ourselves in negative ways at times, we need to remember that God is always there. And just like Job went through that experience, he had resolution in this life. Maybe we don't even get resolution in this life. We have to wait for the future. But God is the one who will bring it all to an end. The great controversy that we're going through, that the whole universe is experiencing, will be brought to a satisfactory end. And God answers all the charges that the devil has brought. Psalm 75 says that the Lord decides. And he is the one making those decisions, not just for the whole world, but individually for us. Psalm 105 talks about that agreement that God made with Abraham and Jacob, and that he is our God. And when you think about the situation, the one God was a very important thing to be saying, because almost all the other nations around were polytheistic. They have multiple gods. But we are saying our God is one. Galatians 3 says that anyone that trusts in Jesus is both a child of God and a child of Abraham, heirs of the promise. So all that was said back then in promises to God's people applies now to us. What a thought. And then finally, the Lord's path are those of trustworthy love and truth for those who keep his agreement and do as he says. As we think of the Lord who reigns, let us be glad, let us be happy, and make sure that our lives represent the Lord who does indeed reign.